Happy New Year, Zeev. That's right. It is December 31st, 2024, the last day of the year. And, every year, I suppose, around this time, it's kind of, an opportunity for some introspection and kind of reminiscing, and hopefully you can use this time to think of what you could do better next year, what you could have maybe done differently this year, and you should look forward to doing your best pretty much every day, but specifically every new year. Now, as a watch collector and as a snob, I look back and think of the wins and the losses, specifically in the watch world. And, I've had a negative enough 2024 with certain aspects of my life, specifically, the injury. And I want to keep it positive. So today, we're going to talk about who I think is the best watchmaker of 2024. And hopefully, next year, we can see them do even more cool stuff. Oops, bumped the mic. It is 1:34 p.m. Let's get down to business. So my pick for best watchmaker of 2024 might shock some of you, especially if you didn't see the last Saturday Q&A, where I kind of gave you a little heads up. But I'm going to give you a little hint. It's not one of the big boys. And by big boys, I mean it's not Rolex. It's not JLC, it's not Cartier, it's not Longa, although all of those watchmakers did release some cool stuff this year. That big solid gold deep sea from Rolex, that was a win, I think, even though who the heck would ever wear that? Let's see, JLC had some crazy complications, dude, some of their watches they came out with a salmon dial, crazy complicated watch that I thought was a big win. Cartier came out with another Tortue watch, which I thought was very nice. Longa had a few crazy releases. Another huge winner, I would say, is Laurent Ferrier, but they always have some very, very cool stuff as well. But this watchmaker that I'm picking for the best of 2024 had, I think, 4 big releases, and it's kind of crazy because have come full circle. I've hated this watchmaker, or excuse me, let me start. I liked their vintage stuff. Then I decided that I hated them because they all were kind of just a one-trick pony. And then I'm back to being like, well, you know what? They kind of have some pretty solid watches. There's still one overarching issue with them, but they have some pretty cool watches. So, this is gonna, drum roll, please. Clutch your pearls in 3, 2, 1. Tudor. I think Tudor was probably the best watchmaker of 2024. They have consistent hits, and it all started when they released the 58 in gold with the bracelet. Now, this is going to be the first mention today because I don't think this is their biggest win. I think it's a little bit of a cop-out anytime a watchmaker releases something with a new bracelet or a new strap and calls it a new release. But I think this is very, very close to vintage Rolexy design, no crown guards. People are blown away that the original GMT Masters and stuff had an oyster case without any integrated crown guards. And if you are someone that enjoys vintage sports watch design, I think this, with the sizing, with the no crown guards, Black Bay is boring because Tudor only releases Black Bays, but this is a very good one, and for some reason, green goes crazy. It's unpopular at the beginning, and then it comes around and everyone freaks out about it, and I think this is just a very good-looking watch. But I understand people's issues with, why would I spend this much money on a Tudor? I should just buy a Rolex. Well, you're not going to find a solid gold Rolex for this amount, but, I digress. Very nice looking watch. It is a Black Bay, and that's an issue for me, but if I were to get a Black Bay, I would either get the Harrods or this one. Moving on, the Pelagos FXD Chrono Cycling Edition. This is objectively a badass looking watch. The contrast with black and white, obviously, that's like the definition of contrast, right? But then with the red, the touches of red, it's very sporty, stealthy, but dynamic. I really like the red bordering, obviously, on the chapter ring, but on the sub registers. I think it looks very, very good. And I think that this is, the Pelagos is probably one of the best modern sports watches, period. I think them downsizing it and giving us other options with, a chronograph complication and then another complication that we're going to talk about in a little bit, I think that's a big win. So the FXD Cycling Edition, even though I'm not a cyclist, I think that this is actually very cool. 6 o'clock date, looks damn good. Moving on to another Black Bay. Now this is the Blue Boutique Edition. I've come out for years since they released the Black Bay chronographs and said that this is a great watch. The only issue is that it's a little bit bigger than I think most people would expect on the wrist. This does wear large, but this is beautiful, really nice deep blue, beautiful, sub-dials that are just popping out because, of course, they left these clean with white, and I think it looks very nice on a Jubilee bracelet. This is a super sporty, incredibly functional watch, and I think you're getting a whole lot of watch here. And because of the way that the sub-registers kind of pop against that blue, I'm not going to knock it for not having a color-matched date. It kind of works, because this pops, all of the indexes pop, and then the date at 6 o'clock pops. So this is very, very nice, and I think that this is just a gorgeous watch. So now we're going to go to the last pick from Tudor that I think is probably the biggest win. And some of you guys, like in the chat, I'm sure you guys can guess which one I'm going to pick. But I think this is one of the coolest sports watches to come out. I think it's probably one of the most functional sports watches to be released. And I think Tudor just crushed it. And I think that this is them going a little bit outside the box, which is very, very cool. And of course, I am talking about this. Okay. This GMT, the FXD GMT from Tudor. I can't find anything I don't like except for one thing that is wrong with all of these Tudors, and you guys can probably guess in the chat, guess which thing I think is wrong with all Tudors. Okay, really nice. I think this faux patination, this kind of custard on the indexes, the handset, on the bezel, I think it looks so nice. The splash of orange looks great. Case shape with the integrated crown guards, and it's just very, very simple in a way, very legible. They kept the kind of faux patination on the date. It looks very well done. Everything down to the signage keeps that kind of custard look. Very old school military, incredibly functional, just a stunner. I think when it comes to field watchy watches with great complications, Explorer 2 from Rolex is a big one. And then, of course, this Pelagos FXD GMT is probably one of the best releases that Tudor's ever done. Now, I think, personally, there's one thing wrong with these Tudor sports watches that is bigger than them only making Black Bays. And that's the stupid snowflake hand, okay? These watches would literally be perfect if they didn't have that stupid snowflake hand. I'm going to give you an example. A regular hand, if we were looking at this watch, okay, a regular hour hand, if we kept like a stick hour hand, it would obscure part of the sub-register for hours at a time, for sure. But not as much as this stupid, huge, broad snowflake at the tip of the hour hand. The hour hand, especially when we're looking at watches with sub-registers from Tudor, it obscures the sub-registers for like huge portions of the day. I think it's ugly. I think it's unnecessary. I think that is one of the things that Tudor needs to do away with. But with all of this into consideration, the fact that yes, they make too many Black Bays. Yes, they use that stupid snowflake hand. Still, I think these 4 watches are huge wins. Very big wins. Tudor's a badass a watchmaker now. And it all came about when they re-released the Ranger. That kind of was a paradigm shift for me. I was like, okay, they're willing to do something not Black Bay. And then they resized the Pelagos, and I was like, okay. Once they reissue the North Flag, I will say Tudor's my favorite watchmaker. If I'm going to say it right now, if Tudor reissues the North Flag, then I would consider Tudor perhaps one of my favorite watchmakers. But yeah, so good job, Tudor. Let's give them a round of applause in the chat. This is going to be a short one today, but Happy New Year, guys. Let's finish this one strong. And you know what? Try to go to sleep happy today. Don't focus on the things that you did wrong. Just focus on what you're going to do better next year. Because we're all in our own heads constantly. And just, you know what? Like, 2024 was crazy. 2025 is looking up. And let's just stay positive. And I love each and every one of you. So stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed. I'm Jory Goodman. The time teller, always remember, I didn't invent time. I just tell it. And we'll see what happens.